Okay, the total cost of a radio, a clock, and a blender is $215. The radio costs $35 more than the blender, and the blender costs $45 more than the clock. And we're asked, what is the what is the cost of the radio? Okay, so we've got a radio. All right, radio, clock, blender. Right. And it says the radio costs $35 more than the blender. Okay, so I'm actually going to start. I'm going to draw the blender first because that's sort of like the my basic unit. And then it says that the radio costs $35 more than the blender. So I'm going to draw a block that's the same size as the blender's block. Okay, so these two parts are equal. All right, even if they don't look exactly equal, I know that they're equal. And it says that the radio costs $35 more than the blender. So I'm going to add this bit here, and that has a value of 35. It's $35, but I'm just, for clarity, just going to write the 35. Okay. So I think I've got that bit of information. See, I'm always going back to my question to check, have I got everything? Did I read it right? And that's what you have to do. The blender costs $45 more than the clock. Oh, right. So this blender, all right, costs $45 more than the clock. So the clock is less, all right? The clock is less, and it's less by 45. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a chunk out of this and label that as 45. And then my clock is going to have that part there. Now these two are equal. I need to do the same here, and that's going to be 45. Okay. And I think I've captured that bit of information. So here I have the blender costing $45 more than the clock. Yep, that's what I'm told here. And I'm told that the radio costs for $35 more than the blender. Okay, I believe I've captured all of that information. What else are we told? Well, we're told that the total cost of this, all right, so this whole model represents a value of, okay, 215. Okay, so how can I use that to calculate the value of all of these? Well, I have these parts are known, okay, and these parts are equal to each other. So if I add 45 plus 35 plus 45, so we've got 45, and it would help if I actually wrote 45. So 45 plus 35 plus 45, I add those all together, and that's going to give me 125. Okay, I should really be writing in dollars, but it doesn't look as neat. Okay, so that's 125. So I know that these parts of my model are 125. If I take them that 125 away from 215, okay, I will be left with the value of these three parts. So 215 minus 125, that is going to give me 90. So I know that the value of these three parts here, okay, is 90. And if I divide 90, if I divide that by 3, I get 30. So I know now that each of these has a value of 30. Now, you can see that my model's not in scale. Look at this. This part 45 I've got is smaller than this part 30. That doesn't matter. I didn't know what the values were going to be when I drew my model, and it doesn't make my model less effective, okay, as long as I know what it means. Okay, so I think I've got a lot of information now. What am I asked? I'm asked for the cost of the radio. There is my question. So I've got to go back and make sure I've identified what my question is. And that's just all of this part here. So I'm adding, so for the radio, okay, I am adding 30 plus 45 plus 35. Okay, and if I do that, I get my final answer of 110.